keep talking about startups and the difficulties. I think everybody who experiences, the challenges that come up, I think what might be useful over here is, as a startup guy, so firstly, did you start this up on your own? Did you get any fund? Did you go through the process of getting like seed funding or anything like this? Or was it just organic growth from the beginning? I guess that's the one question. And what would you say, what advice would you give to somebody who's looking to start up whatever business? Doesn't have to be just AI or whatever. What advice would you give someone who's looking to start up?
So first, regarding how we got funded, we wanted to have a pre-seed investment. We planned everything according it, but after we read the contract, we decided, no, we do it on our own.
Because a lot of these angel investors, they take your whole business.
Exactly.
Welcome to the Financial Frontiers podcast. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit that bell icon to get notified when we upload new content. Follow us on Spotify and give us a 5-star rating. It will help the channel, which I hope you love so much.
And here we have another session on the Financial Frontiers podcast. Today, my guest, Sebastian, who I recently met at an event, which I'm trying to remember which event that was. It was
the Cyprus FinTech Summit.
The Cyprus FinTech Summit, correct. And that's where I met you, but then I also met your partner Katerina.
Exactly.
At a round table, if I remember correctly. It was a few months before that. It was really coincidental, because you told me, my partner Katerina, when I saw him, like, oh, I've met that person before anyway. So Sebastian, your surname?
Niehaus.
Niehaus, so come closer to the microphone there. You can adjust it over here,
okay,
so that the feedback is good there. That's perfect. Niehaus. So Sebastian from Germany, let's get into a conversation over here, which is most likely going to be just based on what I know of your background. Is AI is definitely going to be in this conversation. Wealth management, trading, etc. Let's get into this. Please introduce yourself. Let us know who you are, where you're from, and let's get into this. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm Sebastian. I am German. I studied business and informatics, so I don't have a typical finance background. I worked a very long time in machine learning, data science. So I worked as well in medtech on recognizing, for example, tumors and MRIs. And many people are asking me how you changed from finding tumors and MRIs to finding patterns in finance. But it's almost the same. If you're thinking about what kind of data we are analyzing, there's a lot of data that we don't even need. We are always interested in this small part, and that's what me motivated to go back into finance. Of course, I had, since I studied as well in some parts business, I had of course some courses in finance. And yeah,
that's interesting. I think if we want to move that drink over here, because we want to take the focus out. Look, I think the camera's not going to have a difficult time focusing on you, because you're just so freaking big. I remember when that day we met each other. It was actually we were seated as we are today, as we are now, and then when we got up, you started rising and you didn't stop, and I was quite surprised. So
yeah, I'm 2'6".
2'6".
Yes,
that's LeBron. That's LeBron James. I think is 206. If I'm not mistaken, maybe he's taller. LeBron James, the basketballer.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
You might be surprised, but I'm not into basketball.
You're not into basketball.
No.
You could have been, because you're not only tall, you also got the mass,
Yeah.
which is freaking awesome. Anyway, so what you said about different verticals, but there are similarities when it comes to analyzing data or machine learning or whatever the profession is. You said you moved from med into finance. A lot of the data, as you described before, is not needed. But when we think of machine learning, right, and these AI models, a lot of the time the data that we have that exists in there, the AI may make sense of it that we never thought could be made sense of, if that makes sense. So it's interesting that we talk about these different verticals, and there are some similarities. And as you mentioned, med. Just a little bit off topic here. Did you see what's happening with in the US with OpenAI and Oracle? The Stargate project. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I saw it.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I would say I'm worrying a bit about that we are getting behind in Europe with these huge investments. On the other side, we are always as well kind of limited with the data that we have. And if you are having such big AI projects, that's, for example, what OpenAI made. Of course, they made a really, really great algorithm. They published, I think, the paper in 2019, 2020. Nobody knows about GPT-3. Of course, the people in the research field knew it. But in the end, what they did to build ChatGPT is they cleaned all the data. They did really, really hard data work. And if you are building such a tool for just one industry, you need this work, and maybe it's working not in another part of the world. And if we are addressing these topics in Europe, we are facing different problems that we are having, that the guys in the US are having it, since of course we have another language, but we have as well another culture. And it seems not that obvious maybe in the beginning, but another culture means other data patterns. And yeah.
Yeah, also, that's a big one, right? When we talk about technology and how, different massive powerhouses, let's call it like the US, China, the data is important, and they've got the data. And when you say data, my mind immediately, and you can confirm if my understanding was correct on what you said, my mind went straight to Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, where that's where the data is. That's where you can Google, right? And when you need to be in the position, you need to have the resources to build whatever technology it is. And I don't know, in Europe, and let's talk about Europe, how can Europe get to that point where we are also considered as one of the, driving an innovation, in technology? How can we get there? Because it's not in the discussions generally. You just pointed this out to me. When we talk this Stargate project, they're going to fund 500 billion or whatever it is on this. And the reason it came to my mind is when you mentioned the medical industry. One of their goals is to be able to predict and find, cancer. That is one of the goals there. And having a strong America, I guess, is good for the whole world. and and China, there's it all plays a role in the macroeconomics of humanity, right? And these technologies that they're doing is definitely going to help. Of course, it's going to help humanity in general. But how do we get Europe to that point? What it is? I understand. We've got the cultures differences, but the US have somehow managed, and China have managed to get into Europe as well, and the rest of the world where cultures are different. And also, not to say, maybe there are businesses that, now, and I'm sure there are businesses in pharmaceutical or whatever in Europe where we're doing just, great, and it's just not made publicly aware, I guess. So, yeah, just in open conversation over here, speaking about different things. How is it? How is your view? Do you think Europe is lagging behind?
Europe is definitely lagging behind. And of course, it would be nice to have a 500 million project or 500 billion project, sorry, in Europe. But it would be completely different than in the US. And there's one simple reason. We do overregulation. And that's, from my point of view, the biggest problem for not only for machine learning and AI, in general for innovation in Europe. For example, we need just to have a look at the URE. They are keeping everything simple and they are successful. I think 40 years ago they were nothing, especially in Dubai.
Yeah.
And they just don't overregulate, and that's the same what the US is doing. Of course, the US is as well spending a lot of money, but it's not enough just spending money. I would say the legal framework is one of the most important things.
Yeah, we talk about like GDPR, for example, where businesses are just too scared to progress on anything. But I think I don't know, I'm not into the politics so much, but I think the GDPR was mainly for protecting European citizens and the personal data from big tech companies in the US.
Yeah.
So, but overregulation can delay growth. I agree with that, and there's this fine balance between, because being underregulated creates all other sorts of problems.
Yeah, definitely.
Manipulation and whatever it is, but then overregulation then cripples growth. So I guess there are many different challenges, and maybe we're two different individuals. I guess we've got our small businesses, and we can do our part to whatever in whatever impact it is. There are many people like us with small businesses. Let's get back to Sebastian and your shift from med into finance. How long have you been in finance for? What is your experience in the financial sector?
I'm in the financial sector since 3 years now, so I'm very new in the field. My co-founder Katharina is over 10 years in the financial sector, and that was the initial idea. So we are the pure fintech. She's the fin part and I'm the tech part.
Okay.
And it worked, especially in the beginning. It brought completely new perspectives to our solutions and how we address problems and projects. Since she worked for EY and had there, of course, a very institutional view. I worked just in tech and had, of course, always a tech view, and that brought very fresh views into the handling of projects.
So when you say you're tech, do you have experience in the building machine learning models?
Yes.
So when we talk about there's different involvements, I guess, that comes in entering into AI, right? My approach is to use the existing models that have been created because I feel going and reinventing almost the wheel is maybe something that I'm not interested in and is really a big challenge, right? And I mean, you're up against big tech companies and so we're talking about here, what we're talking about is the actual brains or the engine behind technologies like ChatGPT and what OpenAI have developed, and that is machine learning, and which is a digital replication almost of how the brain works with neurons that go from in terms of learning how you train a model and you almost reward it. And I'm giving just this has been a while for me to look into how the machine learning works, is replicating how the brain works. So you give it a task to do, and then it performs that task, and if it did it correctly, you reward it. If it didn't do it correctly, you almost penalize it, so it knows, okay, that wasn't correct. And each attempt passes through a series of a neural net until it gets to an output. So it's input, output. What did you give it, and what did it give out, the response? And as it learns on this rewarding mechanism, yes, that was correct, no, that was not correct, it starts to give the output gets more accurate, but it's just rinse and repeat of millions of repetitions of example models. So that was my description. I would love to hear you, and if I've understood correctly, that's what you do. So when you say you're from a tech side, you build these models?
Exactly. So, by the way, this explanation was great. So, if I held a lecture again, I invite you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, what you described is supervised learning, and reinforcement learning is working in a similar way. So, just a short explanation. So, supervised learning is learning really from targets, and reinforcement learning is exploring a series of tasks. So, for example, in trading, we are doing more reinforcement learning since every step is not independent of the other steps. And supervised learning is more a single decision. And for example, OpenAI trained ChatGPT as well with reinforcement learning algorithms, and the neural networks that they are using are therefore it's GPT. It's a transformer, and they use not directly text data, they are using snippets of text data. So they don't use full words. Yeah. But I'm drifting away.
No, it's all good. I mean, this fascinates me at least. So, and I'm sure many of the audience,
but regarding what we are doing and regarding the training sessions that we are doing with our algorithms, of course, we don't invent something new, at least the most of the time, because the most of the time we are using approaches that are used by other quant traders, other banks. But what we are mainly doing is we are including data sources from all over the world. We are trying to keep the number of data sources always as low as possible, but we need a lot. We have always around 50 data sources. And using these different data sources, build a training data set, train our models for a given task, for example, predicting the price or the risk of a price drop in the next 30 days, 60 days. And these models are getting deployed in our engine and in the end to our clients. And in this way, you don't need to rely first on a model that you don't know, because if you're using a tool or an API from an open source framework, you don't know what you get. And there we are back at regulations. Our clients really, really like that they know exactly what they get, and it's very important for reporting purposes, especially in institutional trading. And another important point is, if too many people are getting the same signal, of course, the signal is not working anymore, since people might trading against it or something else.
So let's explain that, because I'm sure many people are not going to understand exactly what that means, and maybe I'll back it up with what I understood what that means, and then you can, I guess, validate and then add on to it. And there was a few points there. Let me just get back to. So first of all, you mentioned you get the data sources, and you build the actual model, the machine learning model that's trained on these data sources. So my first question is, what is the framework you use? Do you use TensorFlow or?
Yeah, exactly. So we are using most of the time TensorFlow or PyTorch, and we are using architectures that are already validated by other researchers. So that's what I meant by we don't invent something new.
You're not going to reinvent the wheel. You use the frameworks that exist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we are implementing research papers from others. I'm still active in the research community. And therefore we are, if you're checking our website, you will see claim 1,500 models. It shows, it feels very weird, but it's necessary, since of course we don't use all the time 1,500 models, but for every market regime you need other models, for every asset class. Very often in an asset class you have, of course, smaller and bigger assets regarding the market cap, for example, and there you need always different models, and that's why we have so many models and different levels of complexity in the different models.
Just for those who don't know this, the TensorFlow and PyTorch it's a library. PyTorch is a library in Python, and TensorFlow is, I think, Google's technology.
Yes.
And these are frameworks that people could use to develop their own machine learning algorithms based on whatever the use cases. And I don't know if algorithms was the right word there to use, but models, let's call it, machine learning models. And in Sekasa's case, you're getting data, and the data sources was my next question. You said 50 sources. Are these data sources pricing of different instruments, or does it also include what was traded? So the actual market sentiment, and was it on the institutional level? Where is this data coming from, and what data is it?
So of course it's the typical price data volume pairing, but of course we are including as well a lot of macro data. We are including a lot of data about different markets. So for example, we are including car sales, for example. We include almost everything that we can get apart from text data. We tried it very early in the beginning, and in the end we decided, okay, that's very compute intensive, especially if you're using data, for example, from Twitter. It's very likely that it gets manipulated. A lot of people are trading according news, according tweets. And if there are many people interested in, you're getting as well manipulation in it. And therefore we don't see any, in our case, we don't see any value in including text data. Therefore, we include everything else apart from text data.
And you had mentioned about the signal. You said that if everybody knows a signal, it almost becomes like useless information, because if there's a signal that's been pushed out, and a signal being what recommendation there is in positioning yourself, what on what stock to buy, or going long or short on a specific instrument. These are signals, right? It's a recommendation based on how the algorithm has come up with that, or a human, right? Has come up with that decision or that signal, that recommendation on how to trade a specific instrument. It becomes useless if the whole world is given the same signal, because then everybody will move in that direction, and then that will throw the price off. Have you looked into this Trump and Melania coin?
I saw it on LinkedIn, but I didn't look into it in detail. But it was crazy. I think they released it on Friday, and on Monday it was 7,000x or something like that, or 700x. It was crazy.
Yeah, and one would think, what I think makes that different to a pump and dump scheme, like the Ep.031 coin, right? This is Trump and Donald Trump and Melania. They're in the White House. They're in the strongest seat in the world. They're not interested in doing any pump and dump, right? That backing, I think, is a big differentiator to the Ep.031 coin. But super interesting on how this world is changing, in terms of that, and how the blockchain, I think, is now more in a positive view, and how that's going to change with the new administration. As we said, America, we need a strong America, because they influence the whole world. It's the truth.
Definitely.
So, right. So, Sekasa. Back to our small impact, right? Which could be a big impact later. Who knows?
Nobody knows.
Yeah, nobody knows. So Sekasa, you said 3 years. So is that how long Sekasa has been around?
Exactly. So of course we started earlier, but I worked only on my own. Of course, I did a lot of trading before. I did as well quant investing and quant trading before, but that I completely changed my profession to finance was 3 years ago with the founding of Sekasa.
Can you tell us what is quant trading? What is it, and what do you do there?
So quant trading is simply that you don't do the typical research that a trader is doing with reading news, looking at the chart. That's just looking at the chart is typical, known as technical trading. What quant trading means is you deploy or use methods like linear regressions, machine learning, so all kind of quantitative methodologies to underlie your trading strategy, or to completely support your trading strategy.
So when you say technicals, technical analysis is analyzing historical data, obviously.
Exactly.
And finding trends from the history to try and predict what happens later on. Fundamental analysis comes with the form of news, right? So macroeconomics, trying to understand how the sentiment, how the consumer confidence will change, how macroeconomics, how export import impacts a forex pair or a certain stock. So that's fundamentals. And then quant comes in the form of, I guess, combining both of these.
Exactly.
Both of these, and using linear regression, as you mentioned, which is algebra, right?
Yeah, exactly.
so mathematical models, in short.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that is important. That's definitely needed for moving into what you're doing with Sekasa, and that is building these machine learning models for predicting or giving out signals to your customers. So who are your customers then, and how can they benefit? What does the actual product look like? What are you getting, with the service from Sekasa?
So what you're getting is simply an API that is giving you a direction. So it's giving you simply the signals. Our signals are not just buy and sold and a stop loss and a take profit. Of course, we deliver that as well. What we are doing is called conformal predictions. That means that we show as well the confidence of the model. That's very important, since it's always kind of magic if some mathematical tool is predicting a direction and you don't know what really is happening. And if the model is showing you, it's very likely that the price is rising by 6%, but there's a downside risk of 4%, and you're saying, okay, a risk of 4% and with a combination of 6, maybe we don't do it. And that's very important. And for example, for our broker customers, now it combines a bit of what we discussed before, that not everyone should get the same signal, because then they are working not anymore. If you buy signals and you're getting always the same signals, of course, not every trader is using these signals, but with our conformal predictions, you can use different parts of our signals. So you can, for example, focus on every signal that is providing you the chance of 4% increase and just 2% drop, or 10% increase and 6% drop. So you can filter all these things and build different trading strategies. So in this way, if you provide as a broker these signals to your client, you have solved two problems at the same time. First, you don't give directly clear investment advice. That's a topic that the most brokers don't want. You provide a tool that is unique, and the trader is focusing more on your platform. Otherwise, they can switch all the time if you aren't unique. And the third thing is the signals are not presented to everyone. They are completely unique in this case.
So you mentioned confidence level, right? Is it confidence level that you said?
Yeah, kind of confidence, yeah.
So how can it be confident? How does it work that out in terms of a signal that it gives? Because from what I've understood on this, correct me if I'm wrong. So it gives out a signal and then a confidence score.
Yeah.
So in just example metrics. So here's a signal. If you buy a stock in NVIDIA over the next 30 days, that should increase by 7%, and my confidence score on this is 99.95%, which is very high, like super confident, versus here is a signal, another example, and the confidence is 80%. Have I got that right in terms of the confidence score, or is there something else that you said?
Yes, that's exactly how it works, but we don't have just one confidence score. So we are predicting always with, depending on the time frame that we are looking at, let's stay at 30 days. Their potential scenario is a growth of 10%. And then we don't just consider the 10% growth scenario and give a confidence score for that. We consider as well 8%, 6%, 5%. 4% and 2%. 4% and 2% is always reached in 30 days in both directions, but everything above these values and everything under is potentially interesting. And by this, you can generate these different signals out of it and build own trading strategies out of it.
Right. Okay. And then you said this comes in the form of an API.
Exactly.
And so that obviously leads me to understand that this is a B2B. It's an institutional product.
Exactly.
Not so much for traders, unless the trader is an institutional wealth management business or a broker who's or portfolio manager, I guess, who's managing many clients' funds and needs a tool to decide on how they're going to position themselves in the market.
Exactly. So that's our second big customer base. So wealth managers who really integrate our tool as well directly in their brokers. So we have, for example, family offices who are very active in startup investments or private equity investments and who have just a few liquid assets and who don't want to take care about it. They have a broker integration directly with us, and the trading is completely automated. It's a completely custom developed, so it's not a trading bot that everyone gets. It's a custom development there, and they are working with our API and build a strategy on it.
So one challenge that I can pick up here on, I think, in terms of Sekasa getting business is there is a know-how that's required because you deliver in an API form to your customer, to your end customer. That customer needs to know how to use that API, and which needs technical know-how.
Exactly. Of course, we don't give just the API. If you're working with professionals, you always need to give the service around. So we help our clients to build strategies based on our API, help with the integrations. Of course, if you're working with a brokerage company, these companies aren't only brokerage companies. These companies are software companies. They have a lot of knowledge there. Their usual no technical supervision is needed. But you're right, for wealth managers, sometimes they don't even know what an API is.
Yes.
And there we are talking directly with their software providers and do the integration with the software providers usual. So we don't do their big magic. It's usually a REST API, and everyone is.
Could you tell the audience what an API is, just for those who don't know? Because the reality is that many people might not know. So what is an API?
An API is, I would say, a place that you can digitally access where data is in a structured form. So, for example, you can look at it through your browser sometimes, and there you see we call it JSON, and it's a structured form of data where you have always a key and a data element. But that's just one example, and it's literally a server that you can access through an access point, and that's how we connect everything. That's how basically the internet is connected, right?
Yes. But that was a very developer type answer.
Yeah.
That was a technical answer. So I think maybe with different, API stands for Application Processing Interface.
Yeah.
Which basically means every system. So there's different systems that need to connect and communicate with each other.
Yeah.
And they're connecting and communicating what? Data. That's what that's why you mentioned data. So
exactly.
Let's say, for example, we have Sekasa's system, which is a machine learning product that can predict certain outcomes, let's call it, in the markets of different instruments. And how is that delivered out to the world? Well, it needs to connect with a system that can make use of that information. And so an example over here would be a trading platform. So a trading platform which a trader would use to receive these signals in whichever form or way the trading platform can deliver it, whether that is in a message or as a blinking item on the chart that they can say, yes or no to, whatever it is. Every different application has different features and functions. But the API part is what connects these two systems. And I guess, how rich an API is in terms of, the different connecting points and what it's able to give to different systems makes it more compatible with multiple other systems. So whatever information it is that the trading platform needs from your system, it needs to connect in some way or form. And that's the API.
Yeah.
I guess in more layman terms. Right. So you're based in Larnaca, from what I know.
I am.
You come from Germany, though. So why do you choose Cyprus and why do you choose Larnaca?
So Larnaca, simply because Larnaca has the big airport. In Germany, the biggest cities and the most important cities have the airports. Therefore, I thought, okay, Larnaca must be the most important city. I go to Larnaca. It's beautiful. I really like it. It's directly at the beach, at the seaside. You have good restaurants, but it's not the most important city in Cyprus. So you have Limassol, you have, of course, Nicosia.
Well, I guess it's also, the size of the country. So, arguably, every single town is close to the airport.
Yeah, of course.
So, which I think is one of the nice things about Cyprus, I guess.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so Larnaca, nice beachside. Any other? So, how's it been so far? You've been here for 3 years already.
Exactly.
And how are you enjoying it?
I really like it. It's a really good environment. So we really got very fast into the local community, especially the local finance industry. Since everything is in English, that's of course a big advantage, since learning Greek is really difficult in Cyprus, since Cypriots, I learned, don't speak normal Greek. They speak a dialect, and it's really difficult if you learn on learning platforms Greek and here and
you have a dialect as well to bypass. Yeah.
No. And in general, the people are very open. I think everyone is saying it about the country, but I would say in Cyprus it's a different form. It's crazy how fast we got into the industry, how open is everyone. Of course, I would say the most Cypriots have as well a good bullshit detector. So they are very hard with filtering out. But I would say in general, if you are reliable and if you are very open and hardworking, the community is very open and very welcoming. And
yeah,
that was our experience so far. But to answer your first question, why Cyprus? We wanted to found the company, and we were sitting at my table in the kitchen, Katarina and me, and first we thought about the name, and then, okay, where do we found the company? Said, okay, Germany, probably not the best place to be. A lot of regulation, and for some reason, there weren't that many finance companies. Of course, we have finance companies in Germany, but the most company were in somewhere else, in Cyprus and Malta, for example. Of course, for tax reasons, and as well, of course, for regulational reasons, since the CySec is very focused. And of course, the people here are complaining about the CySec, but I would say we have still a very good regulator with the CySec in Cyprus. And that's in the end why we decided to go to Cyprus. Of course, we had as well some destinations outside of Europe, but we said we know the European market. We want to focus on Europe. And in general, we like the package of that Cyprus delivered. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we didn't regret it so far.
Good. I found it interesting that you mentioned tax, but it wasn't your first reason, which I would have guessed. You know, right? So the tax, obviously the lower tax over here, the corporate tax, and also I think there's incentive for outsiders where you don't have any dividend tax. You don't pay anything of that. So, which is a win-win, right? So you come in, and you know, in Germany, well, you have the BaFin regulator, right? But I think that's more for the banks, I guess, and not so much for our retail, I guess, space. And Malta, I didn't know that Malta has. I know Malta is very big with iGaming and casinos and online sports gaming and sports betting and casinos, but the finance sector.
It's more the wealth management sector. It's not that brokerage is that big there. It's more about small wealth management companies. We did some research, but it's not that big as in Cyprus. But of course, it's just because of the taxes there. Since Malta is much smaller than Cyprus, so you can't.
The CySec's doing a great job. You know, so they're embracing blockchain, for example, with the CASP license. They're the reason so many fintech companies and brokerage firms are on the island. You know, net, they're doing a positive job. You know, sure, you're not going to get everything 100% correct. You know, sometimes maybe I've seen examples where they've been overly strict, but I'm not going to judge, right? Because overall, they're doing a great service, I think. Here,
I agree.
All right, so you've been here for 3 years. You enjoy it already. Now, you mentioned Sekasa. Where does the name come from?
It's the first two letters of the names of the founder, Sebastian, Katerina, and we lost the third founder on the way before founding. But we really liked the name, so we kept Sekasa.
Okay. So Sebastian, Katerina, and somebody whose name starts with Sa.
Yeah, Saskia.
Saskia, okay.
But fun fact there, my wife, so it was at this point not my wife, but is named as well Saskia, so it fits again.
Okay. Katerina's your wife?
No, Saskia. So
Katerina's not. Katerina's just is your partner, not your wife.
Yeah,
I see. Okay.
So my wife's name is Saskia.
Okay.
And the original third founder was as well named Saskia, but it was another Saskia.
Oh.
So that's therefore
it stayed for another reason.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, I didn't know that, and I thought Katerina was your wife.
No.
I'm mistaken. Okay. Nice. So, now I think maybe we touched this on this briefly with what data do you get? What is the sources of data you work on? And I guess maybe to refine the question is, are you giving predictions on specific instruments? So if a broker comes to you and says, the majority of my customers trade on exotic forex pairs, would your solution be able to deliver on that? Or is it, mainly the major cross pairs in forex and indices, major indices and big stocks. What are you predicting?
Yeah, there we are coming back to the 1,500 models. Yes, we can definitely handle as well these very exotic forex pairs, and that's why we are having this large model stack. Since, of course, if you're having very exotic trading pairs, especially in forex, there you have patterns that you don't know in, for example, USD euro pairs. Therefore, we can definitely handle it. And of course, for example, we don't have any emerging markets in place. So, for example, yesterday we had a call about the Egyptian stock market, something we don't have currently in place. But in emerging markets, we see very often patterns that we know, of course, from OTC trading. OTC means over the counter, so it's a market, but it's not as regulated and ordered as you know it, for example, from Nasdaq and NICE. And of course, we know these patterns from bond markets, which is as well sometimes liquid, sometimes very illiquid. And therefore, we are always very confident that we can handle these markets. But of course, if we need to say no to a project, to an API provision, we do it. But in general, since we have this large stack.
So crypto, for example?
Yeah. For crypto, there we have one big problem. It's a very young industry. And we have for many coins not enough history to predict. It got better so now we are accepting as well coins with 6 months history. But for 2 years ago, it was a big problem to get enough training data and data for validation to validate crypto coins. But for crypto, we have a coverage of around 100 coins, and I think that's already a lot.
I think, with crypto, it becomes a lot more difficult. So we mentioned the Trump and Melania coin.
Yeah,
and by the way, I'm seeing this with my customers at DGM. It's a high trend. People want to trade it, and they're delivering it in CFD format. So, which is basically, it's a feed and traded on the broker, with basically predicting if it's going to go up or down, and speculating around the volatility of it. So would those two coins, which have absolutely no history at all, be something that Sekasa could potentially plug in and give some kind of insight or signal?
No. It more depends on what Donald Trump is tweeting tomorrow, what someone else is tweeting tomorrow. If they are releasing a coin for one of their kids, for example, or grandchildren, it could probably dump the coin. That's something that we can't predict. If you're getting there step by step over the next month, a real, I would say, trading infrastructure around, then you can get in a mode to predict these coins as well. But at this stage, definitely no.
The reason why it's so popular right now is not because the industry that are asking for it know something. What they're doing is they want to gamble. That's what they want to do. They want to, because it's very volatile, right? So it goes up and down. It fluctuates with many points that goes up and down, and that creates opportunity, but also a big risk. So you put a small amount, it shoots up because Trump gets on and says some kind of a speech that was taken positively. It shoots up, and then they get out. So it's, you know, a quick in and out, but it's a gamble because it can obviously go the other way. And when it comes to more sophisticated trading, which, you know, if you had to look at solutions like Sekasa, what you're doing there is taking the job of a quant or a sophisticated trader, risk manager, and replicating as much as you can that function, but with the power of AI and processing a lot more data than what a human can. And it's not as if these humans are using their brains to process everything. They've obviously got tools that they're using, but I think AI just takes it to another level in terms of that. So how many customers do you have now? I don't know if that's something you want to share, but I'd be interested to know if there are businesses that are actually using, or maybe rather, what has the performance been? So have the predictions of Sekasa been accurate?
Yes, of course. Otherwise, we wouldn't survive. But our accuracies are, of course, depending on the prediction case. We have our best models have a very, very high accuracy. They have an accuracy of 72%. But these models are, of course, are very carefully regarding predicting. So you don't get everyday predictions then of 72%. You get probably only once in a month a prediction. But in this case, they are very accurate. Of course, this is something that is probably not that useful for trading, but of course for risk management, especially downside management, if you are having a buy and hold strategy, these models are very useful. What is for trading more interesting are prediction qualities between 50 and 60%, where you're getting everyday predictions, and there you're getting often a better Sharpe ratio in the end. Sharpe ratio means, very simple explained, the threshold between downside risk and returns. And there you are getting better Sharpe ratios with these 70% accuracy predictions.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what is the future of Sekasa? What are you looking to do? What is there anything kind of in the pipeline for new products, or is it just enhancing your existing solution and getting a land grab, I guess, in more customers on the island or globally? Yeah.
So, of course, we are a very young company still with 3 years, and we are profitable. We have a few customers, and we want to expand this. So we got last year a request of a client in the field of private equity. This is something where we are expanding currently, because in the end it's the same game, that we don't do prediction of pricing for, of course, the next 10 days, 20 days. That's not applicable in private equity, but there we are validating more the current valuation that is done manually with data from outside, if it's probably overvalued, undervalued, because this could lead to huge problems for the fund managing company, or even the mother company over the company, because probably they are paying too much to their fund managers, having it in the wrong form on their balance sheet, paying too less or too much taxes. All these problems can happen, and that's one part where we are expanding a lot currently. There we are getting a lot of attention and a lot of requests at the moment. And another part that we didn't plan to make that big, where we get currently a lot of attention, is crypto. Since there election of Donald Trump.
Yeah, it's super interesting now.
Yeah, but to simply answer, we plan to go our way as it is. Of course, we want to grow, especially to grow our clients here in Cyprus. We have some clients directly before closing. Of course, it takes always some time here. We have some clients that have been one of our first clients here in Cyprus. Yeah, but of course we have most of our clients are from the UAE, US, London.
We keep talking about startups and the difficulties. I think everybody who experiences, the challenges that come up, I think what might be useful over here is as a startup guy, so firstly, did you start this up on your own? Did you get any fund? Did you go through the process of getting like seed funding or anything like this? Or was it just organic growth from the beginning? I guess that's the one question. And what would you say, what advice would you give to somebody who's looking to start up whatever business? Doesn't have to be just AI or whatever. What advice would you give someone who's looking to start up?
So first, regarding how we got funded, we wanted to have a pre-seed investment. We planned everything according it, but after we read the contract, we decided, no, we do it on our own.
Because a lot of these angel investors, they take your whole business.
Exactly. And in the end, we had all the knowledge that we needed. With Katarina from the business side, me from the technical side. And in this way, we were able to do it on our own. That's currently a very big advantage since, for example, our wealth management clients and especially the family offices are very keen on that we are independent. That's a huge advantage that we couldn't see at this point of time, but in the end it was very good and currently currently a good match for the market. Yeah, and advice for startup founders: focus. Of course, your ideas are important, but in the end, the only thing that matters is the market. And therefore, listen to your clients as early as possible and fulfill needs and not build just the idea. Fulfill a market need, because otherwise it's not a technology and not a product for a market. I think that's the most important thing, and that's something I worked before in the startup. So I saw already some startups, and that's what the most startups are doing wrong. And of course, sometimes if you're really, really having a good idea and you think it's a good idea, you want to follow this idea, but it doesn't matter in the end. If nobody's interested in, and if you can't sell it, we do. It doesn't
100%.
matter.
That is, I guess, very good advice, and advice that if people really understand what you just said, could save a lot of money. So that advice is, and there are workarounds, right, to this. So you might think that your idea is the best thing ever, but it's the market that decides that. It's not you. And many people get emotionally attached to an idea. And then pride comes in and, oh no, this is going to work, whatever. And then you manage to get some investors, or you don't, you go about it your own way and you kind of bootstrap it, but you spend a lot of time and, you sacrifice, compromise, only to find out that, actually your idea wasn't really needed, in the market. And I mean, I think Tim Ferriss's the 4-hour work week, I think he mentions that there are different workarounds on this. You can test your idea without putting a lot of money. test the idea, see what the market. The first step, I guess, is to see if your idea is actually needed. Maybe it's not such a grand idea. That could save you millions, or years of trying. Right. Very good advice. Yeah, and at the end, it is what the market decides. Now, you do get the rare exception, like where you have the market that doesn't even know that they needed something until you have this vision and you deliver it, and then if you had to try and test the market before, there's no benchmark that you could test it on. Business is just risky. Any business, right? So I think that is definitely good advice. But one big one is, get ready. If you're gonna start up, get ready to go through some really thick, challenging times, right? That's a big one. It's not everybody's cut out for it, and so like Sekasa, for example, you're in 3 years in. It takes 1, 2 customers, 3 customers. Now you're in business, and then you can work off of a base that you can build on top of without even needing investment. There's different ways that you can do this, and so all good advice. I think it's useful to hear this feedback from people who try. And so, what would you say now at your phase? You're at 3 years. What are your challenges moving forward?
So currently, or a challenge that we faced in the end of last year, and the challenge that we are currently addressing is, of course, acquisition of talents. I can imagine you're facing this problem or this challenge as well from time to time.
Yes.
But in the end, we found a kind of simple solution for it. We have very close connections to the local universities now, and try to get the talents directly there, because to find talents from other companies, probably it's one day your client, or even if it's a competitor, it's usual, not only a competitor, we have most partners who are as well competitors, could be as well at the same time a partner. Yeah, it's usual not that good to actively promote to their employees. That's why we directly focusing on young talents. Of course, we are as well very open to experienced positions, but that's definitely during the growth and all the time doing customer acquisitions and further delivering to our clients, and then doing at the same time HR and recruiting is very challenging.
Those are very big challenges, and I also have this challenge. And of course, recruitment and talent acquisition is, especially in industries where the talent is niche and it's very specific. It's not easy to find. Let's call it, or something that generally people can do. You might not have much experience. Let's say, you're an online shop and you need somebody to put in data entry or whatever, right? That doesn't need so much experience, but having a business that is creating machine learning models on the financial sector, that is predicting trades, that needs skill, right? And there are different workarounds. Also, what you mentioned is you don't want to be headhunting to potential clients or partners. Well, at the same time, it's a free market. People can come and go where they want. At the end of the day, one workaround that I've done here at DGM is I've so I've got different departments. Also, I mean, we're not a startup, but I do consider myself a startup in many ways, right? So, here's what we do, and the model is as follows. So we're a 24-hour business, right? We have different departments. We've got a core team, which is the individuals who are very experienced in the industry, and they, the difficult tasks gets passed on to them, the ones that need the experience. But then we have this front level support, which they're there to do 24 hours. So what I've created there is let's call it multiple solutions to a solution to multiple problems. One is I need 24 hours. Two is the challenge of the high pay role, right? So as talent gets more scarce, the salary gets high, so we need to manage our expenses and whatever it is. So we've got this FLS team where we train them to do the basic functionality, let's call it, around maintaining service, monitoring them and failing them over. Doesn't need extensive experience in the industry. And at the same time, they're getting experience in the industry while they're able to deliver on that solution. So that has enabled DGM to have almost like a university within our company, where fresh recruits, somebody who's not super experienced but needs some foundational knowledge around technical IT, plug them into this course almost, where you serve a purpose, you get paid, right? There's a salary, if you're looking for a job, you're getting a salary, you're getting experience, and then in 2 years, 3 years, that serves as an entry into the market where you can either go on to get into the core team of DGM or move on and get a job into another brokerage for a high salary or whatever it is, and build your career. So it's a workaround that I guess has worked for us, where we've got the FLS team where they come in, fresh recruits, whatever it is, people who are eager to learn, hungry to learn, whatever it is, and then they come in, learn, and then progress on their career after 2 years, 3 years. And that role is easy to get replaced. There's always people looking for jobs, hungry, eager to learn. And that's a workaround that I think also serves the community, serves the country, serves the individuals, and also serves DGM. So that is just one that I thought I'd share here.
That's really smart.
Problems come, solutions come when problems exist.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Businesses exist for solving a certain problem.
Yeah.
The bigger the problem, the more potential you have to solve. That's the market, right?
Yeah,
We spoke about the market before.
Exactly.
Does the market want what you think is such a great idea? Your idea needs to be a solution to a problem that exists in the market.
Yeah.
Great. So, Sebastian, is there anything else that you wanted to maybe discuss and touch on? We've spoken here for, I don't know, maybe it's been over an hour already.
Of course, I could open up a next hour, but probably that's getting too long.
It's flexible here. We're in January now. I've been more outside of the country than in, and I've got a mountain of work piled up, which is part of the joys, I guess, of having your doing a lot of things at the same time, right? Different businesses, different tasks, different projects. This is one project, the Financial Frontiers, that I enjoy quite a lot. I'm super excited to have individuals like you come and share your story about your professional career and what you're doing in the business, in the sector. Thank you for your time, Sebastian. Maybe some closing comments. We'll also put links on the different social handles, and so YouTube, Spotify. I need to make an effort of trying to get more people to subscribe, and in every opportunity I'm gonna. So guys, please subscribe, like, and share. Isn't that what YouTubers say?
Okay, I will I will share it on my social media
Yes.
the same way. So maybe you get then more subscribers, and I'm pretty sure you will.
Give your domain, so it's sekasa.com.
I will.
And so just right now, so Sekasa is S-E-K-A.
It's Sekasa, S-E-K-A-S-A minus technologies.
-technologies.com.
Yes,
And you're on LinkedIn, obviously,
of course.
Facebook. Good.
I don't think that we are on Facebook.
Okay.
On Instagram.
It's all good.
Yeah.
TikTok. That's a big conversation.
Are you on TikTok?
I am, yes.
I'm not.
There's this ban now in the US.
Yes.
They've banned it, but I don't know. I'm confused if it's still banned or not. But this Trump, he's doing some big things.
I think currently they are banned because he want to solve the ban, but he didn't so far. But I'm not entirely sure.
They're going to lift the ban on the condition that the Americans own 50% of it, which I think is freaking genius.
Yeah.
I mean, that's very good. So they get the upside. As Donald Trump put it, you either got 0% of something or $1 trillion worth company, but you got to give half. So the Trump card, he knows how to play his cards, right? That's an interesting one. So good, Sebastian, thank you very much for your time over here.
It was fun.
It was great, thank you, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you. Same for you.
Thank you.